The galaxy had seen many wars, but none began with something as small as a child's tear. The planet was called Varine 9, a mining colony shared by humans and several alien species. It was supposed to be peaceful, a rare world where miners, engineers, and merchants worked side by side. Children played between cargo ships. Markets glowed at night with alien colors. It was quiet, almost too quiet for a world sitting at the edge of the galactic frontier. One human boy named Eli lived there with his father, a mechanic. He was small, wild-haired, and always smiling. Wherever Eli went, a strange creature followed, his honey badger, Rex. The settlers laughed the first time they saw it. A honey badger of all things, in a galaxy full of death beasts and plasma cannons? But Rex wasn't ordinary. It had been gene-adapted to survive off-world, faster, stronger, smarter. Still, to Eli, it was just his best friend. Every morning, Eli fed Rex from his lunchbox before running off to watch ships take off. The alien merchants used to whisper and point, a predator walking beside a child. Yet the honey badger never growled, never attacked. It only watched, its small dark eyes scanning everything that moved near the boy. That peace ended the day the Droth soldiers landed. They came under the banner of security, inspection, but everyone knew what. They were mercenaries for the Vorn Empire, hired to seize control of the mines. Their leader, Commander Kor, had no love for humans. To him, humans were soft animals who spoke too much about rights and law. When he saw Eli running near the docking bay, he sneered. "Keep your vermin away from our ships," he barked at the mechanic. Eli's father bowed his head, swallowing anger. "He's just a child, sir," but Kor's soldiers laughed. "And that?" one said, pointing at Rex. "A child's pet? Or a creature that should be put down?" The honey badger stood between Eli and the armored figures, tail low, eyes unblinking. There was no sound, only the slow thrum of ship engines. That's when one of the soldiers made the mistake. He shoved Eli aside. The boy fell to the ground, scraping his hand. Just a drop of blood, one single drop, hit the sand. Rex moved before anyone saw it. A blur of muscle and fury. It didn't roar, didn't scream, it acted. 1 second the soldier was laughing. The next, his armor was split at the joints. Sparks flew. The Droth line stumbled back, confused. Their scanners screamed warnings. Unidentified bio-threat detected. Kor raised his rifle. "Contain it!" he shouted, but Rex didn't stop. It slammed into another soldier's chest plate, tearing through steel. The air filled with the sound of grinding metal and frightened alien shouts. Eli screamed for it to stop, but Rex wasn't listening anymore. For the first time, the settlers saw what it truly was, a small, unstoppable storm. The honey badger fought like something built for war, its movements too fast for the eye. Its growl deep enough to shake the sand beneath them. Then Eli's father ran forward and grabbed his son, pulling him back behind a crate. His voice was trembling. "Don't look, Eli. Don't watch." But Eli couldn't turn away. His friend was fighting for him. Every strike, every growl, it wasn't rage, it was protection. Within minutes, the Droth squad was down. Armor scattered. Smoke rose from the ground. Rex stood in the center, blood dripping from its claws, breathing heavy but calm. Its eyes turned toward Eli. Not wild, not savage, just waiting for his signal. Commander Kor, half-shielded behind a wrecked crawler, watched in horror. "That thing," he hissed, "is no animal." Eli stepped out, small and shaking. "He's not a thing," the boy said. "He's my friend." Kor aimed his blaster, but before he could fire, the colony's siren screamed. Distant explosions rolled across the horizon. Ships, alien ships, were entering the sky. The Vorn fleet had arrived, and now the real war was starting. Rex turned toward the sound, its fur lifting. It understood something the humans didn't yet. This wasn't over. The aliens had touched what they should never have touched, a human child. And now the galaxy was about to pay the price. The settlers began to run for cover. Dust rose around them like fog. Through the chaos, Eli grabbed Rex's fur and whispered, "We have to help, Dad." The honey badger gave a low growl that sounded almost like agreement. Its claws dug into the dirt, ready for whatever was coming. Above them, alien dropships split the clouds. Inside, the soldiers were already shouting orders. Target the human settlement first. But on the ground, something ancient and fierce had already decided the outcome. The honey badger stood in the open, facing the sky. Its claws glinted in the red light. It didn't fear the coming storm. It was the storm. The sky over Varine 9 had turned the color of fire. Alien dropships screamed through the clouds, leaving trails of smoke that curled like claws across the horizon. The quiet mining colony that once smelled of iron and dust now burned under the glow of plasma fire. Eli clung to his father's hand as they ran between the cargo crates. Every explosion shook the ground. The air tasted of metal. Behind them, Rex moved low and silent, eyes glinting like polished stone. It wasn't afraid. It was calculating. When the first blast hit the refinery dome, a shockwave rolled across the settlement, knocking down walls and scattering workers. People shouted, some in human voices, others in the harsh clicks of alien tongues. Panic had no language barrier. "Stay down!" Eli's father yelled, dragging him behind a rusted loader. "But the others, we can't help anyone if we're dead." Rex crouched beside them, watching as the Droth soldiers advanced through the smoke. Their armor shone in the orange light, reflective like mirrors. Each step left deep prints in the dust. They weren't searching for miners. They were hunting one small boy and the animal that had humiliated them. Commander Kor marched at the front, his armor cracked from Rex's earlier strike. Rage twisted his face. "Find the creature!" he barked. "Bring me the child alive." The soldiers spread out. Plasma bolts cut through the air, melting metal and stone. The sound was constant, a scream that never ended. Eli covered his ears, trembling. Then he looked at Rex. The creature was still, staring toward the soldiers. Its fur bristled in slow motion, like a storm building under its skin. Eli whispered, "Don't go. Please stay." But Rex didn't move because of anger. It moved because of instinct. The boy's scent carried fear, and to Rex, fear meant danger. Danger meant attack. It launched forward. The honey badger tore through smoke like a bullet. One soldier turned too late. Rex hit him at the knees, dragging him down. Another soldier fired blindly, and the shot ricocheted off armor plating into his own squad mate. Screams mixed with static. Every time the smoke cleared, another Droth was down, armor split open like a tin shell. Kor lifted his blaster, firing round after round, each blast lighting the air blue. Rex ducked under one, leapt over another, and landed on his chest plate. The commander crashed to the dirt, choking. Claws scraped against his helmet, leaving long, burning marks. For the first time in his career, Kor felt something he didn't understand. Terror of a creature that shouldn't exist. "Kill it!" he shouted. Half his squad opened fire. The ground exploded around Rex, but the creature vanished into the smoke. It reappeared seconds later behind them. The soldiers turned, firing again, but this time something else joined the fight. Humans. Miners armed with drills, welders, and cutting torches charged from the tunnels. They weren't soldiers, but they were angry. They'd seen their homes burn, their friends fall, and their children cry. The Droth expected surrender. They got fury instead. The colony became a battlefield of machines and beasts, humans and aliens clashing in the glow of fire. Eli's father grabbed a fallen blaster and fired at the nearest soldier. The bolt hit true. He looked shocked at his own accuracy. "Run, Eli!" he yelled. "Head for the transport bay." Eli stumbled toward the bay doors, Rex suddenly beside him again, its fur singed, blood staining its claws. It nudged the boy forward, growling low. The message was clear. Move. Inside the bay, the ceiling had collapsed. Wrecked shuttles lay in pieces. The air smelled of fuel and smoke. But in the corner, a small craft still blinked with power, an old survey pod, barely big enough for two. Eli's father limped in behind them, coughing from the smoke. "Get in," he said. "What about you?" "I'll follow in another—" He stopped, looking outside. The Droth were regrouping, forming a new line. Commander Kor was shouting orders. He turned back to Eli, eyes sharp. "Son, listen to me. You take Rex, you go. You don't stop until you find the fleet." Eli's hands shook. "But I can't fly." "You can. The pod has auto-route. Just trust it. Trust Rex." The honey badger looked up at him, breathing hard like it understood every word. The two locked eyes, a man and a creature that had no reason to fight for him, yet did anyway. Then the roof tore open. A dropship descended right above them, its thrusters sending fire through the bay. Metal melted, walls crumbled, and Kor jumped down with a roar. "You think you can escape?" he shouted. Eli screamed as his father shoved him into the pod. "Go!" Rex leapt beside him. The door sealed shut just as Kor fired. The bolt hit the side panel, sparking. The pod engine roared to life, smoke filling the chamber. The last thing Eli saw through the viewport was his father facing the soldiers with a torch in his hand. Then the pod blasted upward, tearing through the flames into the open sky. Inside, the boy sat shaking, tears cutting lines through the soot on his face. Rex pressed its head against his arm. The creature's heartbeat was heavy, steady, real. Outside, Varine 9 shrunk below them, an orange wound glowing against the darkness. The colony burned, but something in the stars burned brighter. Commander Kor watched from the surface, fury boiling inside him. "Find that pod," he growled. "I want them alive." But even he could feel it, the sense that something old and unstoppable had just begun to move. The galaxy had touched the wrong child, and now it belonged to the honey badger. The stars looked peaceful, but Eli knew peace was a lie. Inside the tiny survey pod, silence was louder than the explosions they'd left behind. The metal walls creaked, lights flickered, and the control screen blinked warnings in red. Fuel critical. Navigation damaged. Life support unstable. Eli sat in the pilot's seat, legs tucked to his chest. His father's jacket was too big for him. It hung off his shoulders like a memory that didn't fit anymore. Beside him, Rex sat perfectly still, breathing slow. Its fur was matted with soot and blood, its eyes half closed but alert. Outside the viewport, space stretched endlessly, black, cold, and empty. The pod floated between shattered asteroids, moving wherever the stars decided to push it. Eli tried not to cry again, but the silence made it impossible. "We lost him, Rex," he whispered. "Dad's gone." The honey badger didn't move. It just shifted closer, pressing against his arm. Its body was warm, heartbeat steady. The same rhythm that had calmed him since the day he found it on Earth. A small creature trapped in a cage at a research lab. He'd opened the door then, and Rex had followed him ever since. Now it seemed the whole galaxy was the cage, and Rex was the only thing still free. Hours passed. The pod drifted farther into unknown space. The stars changed shape, clusters, nebulae, scattered lines of light that no map could name. Eli checked the nav system again. The autopilot was dead. They were truly alone. Then a soft tone broke the silence. Incoming transmission, Eli froze. Static filled the air, then a voice, rough, mechanical, not human. "This is Commander Kor of the Vorn Empire. To the runaway human pod, surrender now. We have your signal." "Resistance is useless," Eli's chest tightened. He looked at Rex. The creature's ears twitched. Then it stood up, pacing slowly in the narrow space, claws clicking on the floor. Kor's voice continued. "Your father died pointlessly. Hand over the creature and maybe we'll spare you." Eli clenched his fists. "He's lying," he whispered. The comm light blinked again. Kor's tone turned cruel. "You think that animal can save you, little human? It killed my soldiers. It made me bleed. I will find you. I will take it apart, piece by piece." Rex growled low, an eerie, vibrating sound that filled the pod. Its fur rose, and its eyes locked on the glowing speaker, as if it could see the voice through the machine. Eli swallowed his fear and reached toward the console. "No," he said softly. "You won't." He slammed his hand on the control panel, cutting the transmission. Silence returned, but it wasn't calm. It felt sharp, ready. A small alert flickered to life on the radar. Multiple heat signatures. Ships, fast, closing in. Rex looked out the viewport. Faint lights blinked in the distance, pale blue dots growing brighter each second. The Droth weren't bluffing. They had found them. Eli's hands shook over the controls. "We can't fight them," he whispered. "We don't even have weapons." Rex tilted its head as if it disagreed. Suddenly, the pod's lights dimmed. The engines coughed once, then went silent. The little ship began to drift again, slower now. Eli panicked, pressing every button he could find. Nothing worked. Then, somewhere in the darkness, something massive moved. A shadow fell across the stars, a ship larger than anything Eli had ever seen. Its hull shimmered silver and red, scarred but powerful. The Droth fleet stopped their pursuit instantly. Their scanners went wild. The boy stared, wide-eyed. "What is that?" He breathed. The new ship sent a pulse through space, a single-coded signal. The Droth ships tried to respond, but their systems crashed one by one. Lights flickered. Engines stuttered. Then, as if swatted by an invisible hand, they were gone, scattered or destroyed in silence. The pod trembled. Rex stood between Eli and the viewport, claws ready, even though there was nothing to fight. The giant vessel drew closer, and a deep mechanical voice filled the pod. "Human child," it said. "You are not alone." Eli's eyes widened. "Who are you?" The voice paused. "We are the Earth Fleet Remnant. You sent a distress beacon through your pod's black box. We received it." The voice softened, almost human now. "We saw what they did." The screen flickered to life, showing faces. Human soldiers in worn uniforms, their flag barely visible behind them. The boy gasped. "Actual humans. Survivors. We thought everyone was gone," he said. "Not everyone," the captain replied. "And not that creature beside you?" His eyes studied Rex, who growled softly, cautious. "We've heard stories about honey badgers on the frontier. Yours looks upgraded." Eli managed a small smile. "He's my friend," the captain nodded. "Then both of you are safe now." Docking clamps engaged. The pod jolted as it connected with the massive ship. The hatch hissed open, letting in clean, recycled air that smelled of metal and ozone. Eli stepped out, blinking under bright lights. The soldiers saluted him. It felt strange, he was just a kid, but every one of them looked at Rex like it was a legend made real. Rex walked forward, calm, but its eyes swept the hall. It didn't trust easily. The captain knelt beside Eli. "Son, the Vorn Empire made a mistake today," he said quietly. "They touched a human child. That means they've started something they can't finish." Eli didn't answer. He just looked back at the stars through the hatch window. Somewhere out there, Varine 9 still burned. Somewhere, Commander Kor still hunted them. And somewhere inside the boy, something new had begun to burn too, a resolve that felt too heavy for his age. Beside him, Rex lifted its head and growled softly, the sound echoing through the hall like a promise. The humans had found their lost child. The galaxy had found its next war. The Earth Fleet Remnant was not a grand army. It was a wound that refused to heal. The few ships that survived the frontier wars drifted together like ghosts, carrying people who had lost too much to surrender. Their hulls were patched, engines loud, hearts heavier than gravity. But when the distress pod arrived carrying a small boy and a honey badger, something inside that broken fleet woke up again. Eli stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, staring at the endless stars on the screen. His hands were small against the glass, his reflection framed by blinking lights. Behind him, Captain Rhea, silver-haired, uniform torn at the edges, watched him with quiet curiosity. "You saw them destroy your home?" she asked. Eli nodded. "They hurt my dad. They tried to take Rex." Rhea looked down at the honey badger sitting beside him, calm but ready, eyes bright like molten metal. "That thing tore through Droth armor," she said. "We saw the footage from your pod's recorder. Do you know what it means?" Eli frowned. "That Rex saved me." "It means," Rhea said slowly, "that the Vorn Empire will not forgive what happened. They'll come for both of you, and that gives us a reason to fight back." The crew around them looked up. For years they had hidden, scavenging for parts, trading in silence. Now someone had given them purpose again, and it wasn't a general or a weapon. It was a child and his impossible animal. Rex tilted its head, catching the hum of energy from the ship's reactor. It didn't understand strategy, but it understood movement. It could smell tension, fear, resolve. The humans on this ship smelled like soldiers trying to remember how to be dangerous. Rhea turned toward the tactical table. "We traced the Droth trail to the nearest command outpost. If Kor's forces are regrouping there, we hit first." Her second-in-command hesitated. Captain, we're barely operational. Half our fleet can't make FTL. We have 1 cruiser, 2 gunships, and a freighter with patchwork shields. Rhea's eyes hardened. Then we make it count. They touched a human child. That's all the reason I need. The order went out. Engines flared, drives charged, and the fleet turned toward enemy space. Eli stayed near the viewport with Rex, watching the stars blur as they jumped into faster-than-light travel. The hum of the ship filled his chest. He could almost feel his father's voice inside that vibration, steady, brave, alive. Hours later, alarms broke the calm. Contact detected. 3 Droth cruisers ahead. Rhea's voice thundered through the intercom. All stations ready. No comms, no mercy. Engage. The stars snapped back into shape, revealing the dark silver bodies of alien ships. Sleek, armed, waiting. Their signal lights flashed warnings across the void. One message repeated in galactic code, "Surrender the child and creature." Rhea smiled grimly. "Answer them." The communications officer opened a channel. Static hissed. Then Eli's voice came through instead, small but clear. "You shouldn't have touched him," he said. For a heartbeat, even the crew froze. Then the Droth ships fired. Blue plasma streaked across the void, burning through darkness. The Resolute shook, metal screaming. Shields flared white, holding for now. Rhea barked orders. "Return fire!" Missiles launched. Gun turrets roared. Space lit up like a storm. The Droth moved in formation, efficient and cold. But the humans fought like cornered predators, wild, fast, unpredictable. Rex pressed its paws to the deck, sensing vibration through the floor. It didn't know what a space battle was, but it knew war. The rhythm of gunfire matched its heartbeat. It gave a low growl, deep and steady. Eli crouched beside it. "We have to help," he whispered. The nearby engineer overheard him and laughed softly. "Unless your pet knows how to fix a reactor, kid, just hang on." Rex's ears twitched. The growl stopped. Then, slowly, it padded toward the maintenance hatch. The engineer blinked. "Wait, where's it going?" Eli ran after it. "Rex!" Down in the lower decks, sparks rained from ruptured pipes. Crew members struggled to seal coolant leaks. The ship groaned as another blast hit the hull. Rex darted past them, moving with uncanny awareness. It reached a power conduit, sniffed, then clawed open a panel. The engineer shouted, "Hey! Get that thing away from—" Too late! Rex's claws connected 2 severed power lines, rerouting current through its own bio-enhanced body. The ship's lights flickered, then surged brighter. Systems that had been offline blinked back to life. The honey badger roared, not in pain, but in defiance. On the bridge, Rhea stared as new readings flooded the console. Power output increased by 300%. What just happened? The engineer's voice crackled over comms. "Captain, it's the Badger. It fixed us." Rhea almost laughed. "Then let's return the favor." The Resolute swung hard, firing everything. The Droth ships weren't ready for the sudden burst of speed. Missiles ripped through their formation, tearing one cruiser apart. The others turned to flee, engines flaring. "Track them!" Rhea ordered. "We're not done." The humans had tasted victory for the first time in years. Eli stood beside the viewport again, Rex now resting at his feet, faint sparks still flickering across its fur. He placed his small hand on its back. "You're not just a pet," he whispered. "You're family." The stars stretched again as the fleet jumped to pursue the survivors. The humans were no longer hiding. They were hunting. Somewhere ahead, Commander Kor's ship received the battle report. His eyes narrowed. "So the beast still lives," he muttered. "Then we'll burn every star until we find it." He didn't realize yet. The hunt had already turned. It was no longer the Empire chasing a child. It was humanity chasing vengeance. The Vorn Empire was built on fear. Entire worlds obeyed because they had seen what happened to those who didn't. Their fleets were endless, their weapons unmatched, their cruelty efficient. For generations, the Vorn believed there was nothing left in the galaxy that could truly frighten them. Then came the reports. A fleet destroyed by scavengers. A Droth commander killed by a feral earth creature. A child who escaped from a burning colony and somehow lived. At first, the Vorn Council laughed. The idea of a single human child and a small animal defying them sounded like a bad joke. But laughter died fast when the wreckage of 3 cruisers was found drifting near the Alrec system, each hull marked with long, deep claw marks. The official report called it a mechanical anomaly. The soldiers who saw it whispered another name, the Beast of Varine. On the ship Resolute, the crew didn't celebrate. They were too busy repairing what victory had cost them. The air was thick with the smell of burnt metal and ozone. Still, there was a new kind of silence, a proud one. Eli watched the welders patch holes in the hull. His reflection flickered in the glass, older somehow than his years. War had aged him faster than time ever could. Rex lay beside him, eyes half closed, breathing steady. Its fur was darker now, scarred from burns and plasma residue. Yet it seemed stronger, its presence heavier. Even the soldiers walked around it carefully, whispering like it was sacred. Captain Rhea stepped beside Eli. "You know what they're calling you out there?" she asked. He shook his head. "The ghost of Varine. Every pirate, trader, and mercenary is talking about a human boy whose pet can tear through warships. They say the Empire lost its nerve." Eli stared at the stars. "Good," Rhea smiled faintly. "The enemy fleet's pulling back from the frontier. They're afraid. That's something I haven't seen in my entire career. But deep down, both of them knew fear wouldn't stop the Vorn forever. Empires didn't forgive humiliation." Far away in the shining spire of the Vorn capital, Commander Kor knelt before the council. His armor was repaired, but his pride wasn't. The memory of the honey badger haunted him, the sound of claws, the look in its eyes. "You failed to retrieve the specimen," hissed one of the counselors. Kor clenched his fists. "It's not an animal. It's something else. It moves with intelligence. It fights like it understands war." "An engineered weapon?" another voice asked. "Maybe," Kor said, his voice shaking. "But if humans can make such things, then enough." The Supreme Chancellor stood, tall and cloaked in gold light. "Humans are primitive. You will crush them. Burn every colony, every fleet, until nothing remains." Kor bowed low. "I will find the child and the beast." He didn't say the rest aloud. "And this time, I'll bring an army, back on the Resolute, the human fleet prepared for the next move." Scouts brought in fragments of intercepted transmissions, messages of panic spreading through the Empire. Whole sectors refusing to patrol near human space. Some planets had even begun forming secret alliances. "Captain," said the communications officer, "you'll want to see this." A hologram flickered to life, a news broadcast from an alien world. In broken human language, the anchor spoke. Reports say, "One small human child and creature destroyed Imperial ships. Citizens are told." "Stay calm," Rhea laughed bitterly. "Stay calm? The galaxy's trembling." Eli didn't smile. He touched Rex's head gently. "They'll come again." "Yes," Rhea said quietly. "And when they do, we'll be ready." She knelt beside him. "You remind me of the old Earth stories, you know, about monsters who protected humans from gods." Eli looked at her. "Rex isn't a monster." Rhea shook her head. "No. But to the galaxy, it doesn't matter what he is. They'll see only fear, and fear is powerful." That night, if night even existed in space, the Resolute drifted quietly in orbit over a dead moon. The stars shimmered like distant witnesses. Eli couldn't sleep. He sat near the observation deck, watching the quiet void outside. Rex was awake too, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The two sat in silence. Eli whispered, "Dad used to say people only fight hard when they love something." Rex blinked, slow and calm. "Do you think the galaxy will ever understand that?" The creature gave a low rumble that could have been a growl or a sigh. The boy leaned his head against it. "Then we'll make them understand." On the edge of known space, a massive ripple of light spread through hyperspace, a fleet jumping in. But this one wasn't human or Vorn. It was something else, neutral systems, mercenaries, rebels, drawn by rumor and fear. And somewhere among them, one message was passed in every language. They heard a human child. "The beast is coming." Commander Kor stood in the command room of his new dreadnought, the Imperious Fang, watching scanners light up with red warnings. "Multiple fleets moving toward Vorn space," an officer said. Kor's jaw tightened. "How many?" "Too many." He stared at the screen, the memory of claws raking across his armor still fresh. His voice dropped to a whisper. This is how empires die. On the Resolute, the alarm lights pulsed red. The crew gathered around Rhea as she watched reports scroll by. "Looks like we started something," she said. Eli looked up from where he stood beside Rex. "Can we finish it?" Rhea's eyes gleamed. "We can try," she turned to her officers. "Plot a course for the Vorn capital." Everyone stared. One whispered, "That's suicide." Rhea smiled. "So was touching a human child," Rex growled, low and steady. For the first time, everyone understood it wasn't a pet sound. It was a war cry. The human fleet moved through the dark like a wound through flesh. No songs, no banners, no speeches, just silence and purpose. The stars ahead burned pale red, marking the edge of Vorn territory, a region that had ruled the galaxy for centuries through fear. Now, for the first time, fear pointed the other way. Eli stood on the bridge of the Resolute, small but steady. His eyes no longer held the soft confusion of a child. They held focus, the kind that made older soldiers step aside when he walked past. Beside him, Rex crouched low, still as stone. Its fur shimmered faintly from embedded tech, scars glowing like molten silver veins. It was more than an animal now. It was a symbol. Captain Rhea stood over the command table. "Fleet status?" "2 cruisers, 3 corvettes, and every weapon we could steal or weld back together," her lieutenant said. "The Vorn capital defense grid is live." "Good." Rhea's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Let them see us coming." The galaxy had been waiting. Civilian networks across hundreds of worlds hijacked by rebels were already broadcasting the same message. "The humans are coming." The Vorn capital shimmered like glass, towers of gold light rising above an ocean of mist. Commander Kor's dreadnought, the Imperious Fang, hung in orbit, massive enough to blot out a continent. Inside its bridge, Kor watched the scanner with clenched fists. "They're really coming," an aide whispered. Kor didn't answer. He remembered Varine 9, the blood, the growl, the eyes. He had underestimated one small creature, and now an empire stood on the edge of collapse. He turned to his officers. "Deploy the fleet. Leave no ship standing." The space around the planet filled with Vorn warships, dozens, then hundreds, each one shining like a blade. It should have been enough to crush anything. It always had been, until now. The first human missiles hit without warning. The Resolute and its escorts jumped straight into the heart of the formation. Explosions rippled across the darkness, shockwaves lighting the void. Rhea's voice was calm. "Target propulsion systems. We're not here to conquer. We're here to make them remember." Eli gripped the railing, staring at the chaos outside. "Rex," he whispered, "it's time." The honey badger rose, padding toward the loading bay. Soldiers stepped back instinctively. They'd seen what it could do. The tech crews had fitted a small exoframe around it, linking its movements to the ship's sensors. When Rex growled, the entire targeting grid trembled in sync. The cargo door opened, and cold space waited beyond. Rex looked back once at Eli. The boy nodded. "Go show them." Then the creature leapt. The exoframe fired thrusters, carrying the honey badger like a living missile across open space. It hit the hull of a Vorn cruiser and tore through armor with impossible precision. Internal cameras caught it moving through corridors, tiny, unstoppable, silent, except for the sound of claws and screams cut short. Fleet comms exploded with panic. "Boarding breach! Single life form detected. Contain it. Negative." "It's inside the reactor," and then, white light, one ship gone. Then another. Rex moved from wreck to wreck, faster than scanners could track. The fleet that had conquered half the galaxy began to collapse in minutes. On the Imperious Fang, Kor watched the chaos, disbelief turning to terror. "How?" he shouted. "How does it do this?" No one answered. His officers were already backing away. Then a new signal appeared on his screen, coming from inside his own ship. "Transmission open channel." Static filled the speakers, then a young voice, calm and cold. "Commander Kor," said Eli. "You took everything from me." Kor's mouth went dry. How? You said you'd take my friend apart," Eli continued. "Now he's taken yours." Rex burst through the bridge doors. The armored plating split open like paper. Core fired wildly, energy bolts scattering, but the creature was already there. One swing of its claws ripped the weapon apart. The commander fell, gasping, staring into dark eyes that reflected his own fear. "You're no god," the boy's voice said over the comms. "You're just another thing that touched what you shouldn't." The bridge filled with light. When the smoke cleared, the imperious fang was gone. The Vorn fleet scattered, breaking formation, engines firing in every direction. Their command chain collapsed, their channels full of shouting and silence. On the Resolute, Rhea exhaled. "That's it. The dreadnought's gone." Eli sat quietly, hands shaking, watching the debris drift. "Is it over?" Rhea looked at him. "Wars like this don't end, but empires do." Through the viewport, a small shape drifted back toward them, burned, glowing, alive. Rex's frame was cracked, pieces trailing smoke, but it moved with purpose, claws still gripping the void. Eli pressed his hands to the glass. "Open the bay." When Rex landed, the deck crew ran to meet it. The creature stumbled once, then looked up at Eli and let out a rough, tired growl. He dropped to his knees, wrapping his arms around its neck. "You did it," he whispered. "We're safe." For the first time, Rex didn't growl back. It just leaned against him, breathing slow, eyes soft. Weeks later, the galaxy was different. The Vorn Empire fractured. Systems declared freedom. Some called for peace, others for justice. But every planet, every station, whispered the same legend. A human child and a beast no one could stop. The honey badger of Vareen. Some said it still roamed the stars. Some said it guarded every new human world. And some, especially the wise, said it was proof of a truth the galaxy had forgotten. Humans were not dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they loved. Eli looked out at the stars one last time. "We're going home, Rex," he said. The honey badger gave a small grunt, tail flicking, and in the silence between stars, the universe finally understood its lesson. Never touch what humans love.